Did anyone else find it a little strange when Mark Zuckerberg started cozying up to Donald Trump? When the tech CEO, who once called Trump's rhetoric divisive and fearful, suddenly started having private dinners at the White House? When Facebook mysteriously changed its political ad policies in ways that conveniently helped Trump's campaign? When Zuckerberg sat smiling at Trump's inauguration while half of Silicon Valley was marching in protest? I've been scratching my head about this for months. Surely, I thought, he had something that Trump wants, and Trump has something that Zuckerberg desperately needs. I suspected it was data, but it turns out that it's likely a lot worse.
Lay it on us.
Thanks to explosive testimony from a Facebook whistleblower last week, we finally know what that might be.
Look, the greatest trick Mark Zuckerberg ever pulled was wrapping the American flag around himself and calling himself a patriot and saying he didn't offer services in China while he spent the last decade building an $18 billion business there.
That's former Facebook executive Sarah Wynne Williams testifying under oath before Congress. And what she revealed is absolutely staggering. While publicly claiming that Facebook was blocked in China, Zuckerberg was allegedly working hand in glove with the Chinese Communist Party to build censorship and surveillance tools. The very tools that authoritarian regimes use to control their populations.
By 2018, Facebook built, it even turned on censorship and surveillance tools that it developed for Chinese security officials, correct?
It developed, and those Chinese Communist Party officials tested the censorship tool and would give feedback and say, this needs to change, or we need this, or we need confidence that you can capture images and filter images we don't want seen.
The very tools that authoritarian regimes use to control their populations. That is absurd. Facebook, Meta, allegedly built tools specifically designed to help an authoritarian regime censor and surveil its citizens.
I'm excited.
And not just any surveillance tools. According to Wynne Williams, Facebook created something called a virality counter that flagged any post with more than 10,000 views for review by what they literally called the chief editor.
We talk a lot about 1984. Facebook developed a virility counter tool that directed any posts of over 10,000 views to be reviewed by an Orwellian-named, quote-unquote, chief editor. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And was the chief editor's geographic reach limited to mainland China, or did they plan to cover other locations?
They plan to cover Hong Kong and Taiwan, is my understanding.
All of a sudden, the dots line up, don't they? Because suddenly, Zuckerberg's cozying up to Trump makes perfect sense. Zuckerberg spent years building the tools of authoritarian control for China. He personally led this effort, even learning Mandarin and traveling to China more than any other country.
This was a project unlike any other project I worked on during my time at Meta, in that it was so centrally led by Mark Zuckerberg, and he was so personally invested in this project. He learnt Mandarin. He traveled to China more than any other country. He had weekly Mandarin sessions with employees. It's hard to overstate how different this project was to any other project I experienced in my many years at the company.
So when Trump came to power with his own authoritarian tendencies, with his own desire to control the narrative, with his own hatred of dissent, Zuckerberg already knew exactly how this game is played. He'd been playing it with the Chinese Communist Party for years, and he already had a good relationship with Trump.
So Mark Zuckerberg called me. First of all, he called me a few times. He called me after the event and he said, that was really amazing. It was very brave. And and he actually announced he's not going to support a Democrat because he respected me for what I did that day.
Think of it this way. What do authoritarian leaders want more than anything?
Ultimate power.
Control of information. Control of the narrative. Because those who control the flow of information control reality itself. China understands this. That's why they wanted Facebook's help building tools to monitor and censor content that challenge the government's preferred narrative. And Trump understands this too. The playbook is identical. label any unfavorable information as fake news.
You are fake news.
Flood the zone with your own propaganda, which on social media is favorable algorithms and bots. Silence or discredit critics.
It's okay, I know you're not thinking. You never do.
Create an alternative reality where only your narrative exists.
The fake news will never tell you that grocery prices have gone down, everything's gone down.
Thanks to heroes like Wynne Williamson risking their safety to expose the facts, it's now kind of obvious why Zuckerberg suddenly found himself aligned with Trump. He'd spent years helping the Chinese Communist Party perfect this very strategy. And it's not, of course, just Zuckerberg. Look at Elon Musk, who bought Twitter, rebranded it as X, dismantled its content moderation teams, reinstated banned accounts, and algorithmically boosted pro-Trump content. The pattern is clear. Control the platforms, control the narrative, control the people. But the most chilling part of Wynne Williamson's testimony wasn't about what Facebook did in China. It was about what Zuckerberg was willing to ignore to make it happen.
Did any of Facebook's security team or its engineers raise concerns to management about Americans' private information being exposed to Chinese spying?
Yes, Senator, they did.
And how did they do that?
They documented their concern in a number of ways. They noted that this would happen, that the Chinese would get access to the data, and they also noted their concern in other discussions and other documentation, saying, you know, my red line as a security engineer is to not be comfortable with this, but my red line is not Mark Zuckerberg's red line.
My red line is not Mark Zuckerberg's red line. That is a damning statement. Facebook's own security engineers warned that America's data could be compromised, and according to this testimony, Zuckerberg simply didn't care.
Nice. What else is coming?
The 18 billion Chinese market was more important than American national security. Your security.
Zuckerberg responded, I'm quoting, "Because Facebook has been blocked in China since 2009, we are not in a position to know exactly how the government would seek to apply its laws and regulations on content were we permitted to offer our service to Chinese users." Ms. Wynne Williams, was that accurate?
That is not accurate. You know, hundreds of decisions had been made. And by 2018, they'd been in dialogue directly with the Chinese Communist Party for 4 years.
So, to recap, according to this whistleblower, Zuckerberg allegedly lied under oath to Congress. He was willing to compromise America's data security for profit, and he built censorship tools for an authoritarian regime. Is this why he suddenly found common ground with Trump? Did he recognize a kindred spirit? Someone who also wanted to put personal gain above democratic principles. The parallels are impossible to ignore. What Facebook allegedly built for China, tools to monitor virality, flag dissent, and control the narrative, is exactly what Trump needed from social media companies to consolidate his power.
I'm gonna do it!
And now, with Musk's X algorithm boosting pro-Trump content, with Facebook allowing misinformation to flourish, the authoritarian playbook is being run in America. So this isn't just about one tech CEO's hypocrisy, it's about the terrifying convergence of big tech with authoritarian politics, a convergence that threatens the very foundations of democratic discourse. When tools built on the principles of the Orwellian Chinese Communist Party invade our privacy, we're in very dangerous territory indeed. So the next time you see Mark Zuckerberg testifying about protecting democracy, or Elon Musk claiming to be a free speech absolutist, remember this whistleblower's testimony. Remember that the greatest trick that these tech billionaires ever pulled was wrapping themselves in the American flag, while evidently helping authoritarian leaders, both foreign and domestic, undermine the very values that flag represents. The authoritarian playbook is clear. Control the platforms, control the narrative, control reality itself. And Mark Zuckerberg appears to have learned it from the best before enforcing those lessons home on America.